Bama drops to Duke in the Elite Eight, how that impacts Alabama basketball, and the final game for Mark Sears. What's his legacy at Alabama, and how disappointing was that loss last night to the Blue Devils? How about Coach DeBoer, high on the cornerbacks room, and then Ryan Grubbs' salary? Where does that rank with the rest of the coordinators in the SEC in college football? We're going to get into all that right here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Great to see you guys today. And let's get the show started. Have you missed me? I've missed you guys. It's been a couple days since we jumped on here, but great to see you. Roll Tide. Hey everybody, Ben Gillespie, and welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Come on. Oh, boom, there it is. And there's that too. But look, I know there's a lot of people right now going, hey man, I don't care about your tag. I'm not happy about the loss to Duke in the Elite Eight. Bama got schooled in the Elite Eight. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the season was a failure. They had a goal set out to win the national championship, but at the end of the day, they just didn't have the horses to do that. And it starts with Mark Sears, their AP All-American, 2 of 12 from the floor, 1 of 5 from three. Never really got a shot off or consistent shots off, missed the ones that he did. They give Duke credit. They played great defense. Not like he got a whole lot of help from anyone else. Philon had 16 points in the game, but nobody really stepped up. And Grant Nelson had 10 points and 7 boards. He wasn't bad. Chris Youngblood had 10 points and 4 boards, but there really wasn't that guy to step up and kind of help Mark Sears, and Mark Sears being the guy on the team. I felt like, there were some missed opportunities for Clifford Amore, some dunks that he missed that could have helped out a lot. But at the end of the day, Duke's 35-3 for a reason. They beat Alabama 28-9, tied, really had a successful season, getting to the Elite Eight for the second straight year, but not the outcome that I think that we all wanted. And it's going to be a tough one to swallow just because, you get this close, and they were this close, but they didn't have enough juice to get to the Final Four again and really be a contender for the national championship. And you look at this year's bracket, there hasn't been a whole lot of upsets. I think part of that is NIL and transfer portal. I mean, the top teams are really good. I think Bama could play with any of them, but to beat Duke, you got to be very disciplined. You can't turn the ball over. You got to take advantage of opportunities. And I felt like the things that have really hurt Alabama all year, turnovers, they had 11 in the game, and then, just missed shots, right? They only shot 35% from the floor and 25% from three. They also only, shot 78% from the line. Duke shot 53% from the floor. They shot 46% from three, and then they made 86% of their free throws. So at the end of the day, it wasn't Flag that beat Alabama. It was Alabama that beat Alabama. They didn't make their shots when they had opportunities. And, that's how the season is going to end. And that's how the career is going to end for the Muscle Shoals native Mark Sears. And we wish him nothing but the best. I know that this wasn't the way that he wanted to have his Alabama career end, but I'll tell you what a legacy for Sears, right? Averaged 19 points this season, 21.5 last season, helped Alabama to win more games in the postseason than they ever have won. Did he get stonewalled in the Elite Eight against Duke? Yeah, but you know what? And sometime during the season too. But when you look back on this guy's career, you're going to remember him as one of Alabama's all-time great players, if not maybe the greatest, just at Alabama. I don't know what he's going to do in a professional career, but at Alabama, he was excellent. And, I know today it's like you look back and you're like, man, the season ended. But think about the incredible run that this team had. They lost to Duke, better team. But, Mark Sears obviously put Alabama basketball in a place that I never thought that they would be, and that is a legitimate top 10 program, a team that has gotten to the Elite Eight back-to-back years, has won some SEC championships, and is a contender again. As long as Mark as long as Nate Oates is the head coach. And I think that Nate Oates will probably tell you, even with some limitations, there was never a limitation in effort, and that Mark Sears is someone that is really important to the Alabama program. We wish him nothing but the best at Alabama. But it's kind of sad to know that it's going to be a different roster next year. We don't really know how the construction of the roster is going to be. That's kind of part of this business, especially in college now. You got to almost recruit your guys back. But Sears and Grant Nelson will certainly be gone because of eligibility. And then, who knows what's going to look like from there. But sadly, the season has come to an end. And now we just got to watch tomorrow or today, see what happens, see how the Final Four breaks out. But to think that Alabama was one of the final 8 teams for 2 straight years in college basketball. Last year was one of 4 teams at the end of the season. They're really close, and Nate Oates just needs to keep doing what he's doing and be relentless. And I think that good things will happen for Alabama. Let's talk a little football as we hang out with you here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Also, hit the thumbs up as you hang out, and appreciate all of you guys for being here on this Sunday as we talk about, obviously, the loss to Duke in the Elite 8, and then obviously football going on as well. So let's put this guy on, up next. That's Kalen DeBoer. He's going to be asked about the defensive back room at Alabama. And this is an area where, remember last year, all those guys transferred out and they went to different schools. And he inherited a room that needed a lot of help, a lot of tender loving care. And they ended up being a lot better than I think any of us thought they would be. This year's room, there's a lot of players to be excited about, and there's a lot of talent in there. I think he wants a little more depth, but let's listen to what he says after Bama's first scrimmage on Friday and kind of how significant this room is.
He really had one, if I remember right, one scholarship corner a year ago, returning from the season before, and played a lot of young guys, new guys. Damani wasn't necessarily a freshman, but new guys to the program, and so developed confidence. Now that room all of a sudden has got a high ceiling, but it's also we've created a lot of depth there. And the thing I also like is between this corner and safety room, there's interchangeable pieces. And so there's kind of a dual training that exists. And, you see Red Morgan can play multiple spots. And I'm just thinking about what the fan base would have seen a year ago. And, he was in different spots, safety, corner. Zay Mincy, moved right at the end of the season from corner to safety. And so we have multiple guys that can do a lot of those things. We probably still don't have the numbers you'd like in that room, just because it is so competitive. The right guys coming in is important for us, but because they're all really good football players, the quality of that room and us feeling comfortable with them certainly is in a good spot.
And the job Mo does in terms of
recruiting. Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's just a guy in the building, first of all, that brings just good juice and energy. And he's a pleasure to be around if you're the head coach, a staff member. And then that is certainly seen by our players and felt by our players. And, then, in the recruiting process, I just think he's attractive, for a parent, for their son to want to come here and be coached because they're cared for, they're loved, they're taught at an extremely high level. He does just such a great job in all those ways. So it's personality mixed with ability and the want to. He's a guy with a lot of drive and he's got a high expectation. So he gets after them, but it's some tough love that he brings, and they appreciate that because they want the same thing as he does. It's be their best.
There's Coach DeBoer talking about the cornerback room, kind of got into a little bit of the defensive back room. But when you talk about this Alabama team and kind of where they are, he's got to be excited about that. Dijon Lee, obviously someone that Alabama has talked a lot about. Calhoun, the transfer from Utah, helping out there, doing his thing. And then the guys that they brought back from last year, Damani Jackson being one of them. This is an area where, he talked about Red Morgan and Zay Mincy. These guys have done such a really good job of building depth and consistency at cornerback that was an area where he really didn't have a lot of help last year. He took over, and it was a situation that wasn't great. And all he's done is turn this thing around. I know Alabama would like to have some more depth in that area, but it's pretty exciting when you start to talk about what Alabama looks like in that area, and how the future for the Crimson Tide could look. As far as cornerback goes, and even defensive back. And he was talking about guys being able to kind of do both. Yeah, you can play corner, you can play defensive back, but at the end of the day, you can feel that the recruiting part of it, Coach Lindquist as well, bringing in players, developing players at that position, getting Alabama to kind of the next step. And last year, we didn't expect that area to be a strength of Alabama. There were a lot of young players on the field, but it wasn't bad. This year it could be not a weakness. Maybe last year a weakness, a strength this year for Alabama. Get that right as the Crimson Tide continue to go through practice. Final thing I want to talk about is they released Ryan Grubbs' salary. A lot of people talking about that. Grubbs going to make $1 million. Came from Seattle, but he's part of DeBoer's inner circle. He will, actually make less than co-OC quarterback coach Nick Sheridan, who kind of, had the primary play calling duties. But, with Grubb coming in, and then obviously being fired by the Seahawks, he'll take over that responsibility. Sheridan makes $1.45 million, but Grubb's going to be the guy calling the plays. He is a huge part of, Alabama's staff. When you look around the league, Grubb sits in a tie for 10th with Joe Sloan, and one slot behind South Carolina's offensive coordinator, former Bama coach Mike Shula, as far as money goes. But you take these jobs, it's not always about the dollars and cents. It's about opportunity. It's about fit. And, Charlie Weiss Jr. at Ole Miss makes the most of offensive coordinators, $1.75 million. It's crazy, right? Colin Klein of Texas A&M, just behind him, 1.7. Bobby Petrino, Arkansas, you remember him, 1.6. Mike Bobo, back at Georgia, 1.5 million. You got Ben Arbuckle, Oklahoma, 1.5 million. Kyle Flood at Texas, 1.4 million. Bush Hamden, Kentucky, 1.35 million. I mean, you start going down the list. Kirby Moore, Missouri, 1.3 million. Shula makes 1.1 million, and there's Grubb at $1 million. So I don't think it's going to take him long to move up that list. But when you look at it, I mean, look, he's making $1 million. Is it where exactly he'd like to be? Probably not. But you know what? Success will open up that piggy bank, as Bama's offensive coordinator tries to make things happen. So spring practice will continue to roll on this week. We'll cover it here on the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. I know that today wasn't the day that we wanted. We wanted to wake up and think, hey, Bama's back in the Final Four. That would have made the brackets fantastic, but Bama got beaten by a really good Duke team. I don't think there's anything to hold their head down about. And you know what? We'll get back at it again this week on football. And as much as we like basketball, I think we like football a little bit more, right? And, hopefully Nate Oates and his guys are able to go out there and kind of recruit the next team to come in here and make an impact. Hey, guys, a couple things I want to tell you about. First off, we're brought to you by our friends at New Life Art. Bama was in the Sweet 16, 16% off right now on those amazing prints at New Life Art. Take advantage of it. NewLifeArt.com. You'll click on there and it'll say, hey, where'd you hear about it? Bama Tailgate. And then type Bama Tailgate at checkout to get that 16% off. But take advantage of it. And then we are always presented on a daily basis by our friends at Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, the azaleas and the oaks at Dancing Rabbit, perfect time to go out there and check those out, get a little golf in. The weather's fantastic. You don't even need a membership. And while you're there, Silver Star Golden Moon Casino, table games and slots. At Golden Moon, you got the Timeout Sports Lounge where you can, basically Vegas-style sports book, do anything you want in there. 20 big screen TVs, full bar. it's a fun place to go and spend some time. They got everything you need there. They got during the summertime, they got a water park, they got a spa. So Pearl River Resort over in Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's an easy drive. I promise you. 2 hours and change from Birmingham, hour and a half from Tuscaloosa, but you're just not going to run into a bunch of traffic. So take advantage of it. Guys, thanks. Great basketball season. We'll try to get Catfish on here at some point to kind of wrap things up, but we appreciate you in Roll Tide.
To Pearl River Resort.